All right, so 31 questions to help boost your sales. Let's get into it. Why do questions matter? Why are they important? Why don't we just tell the client what we have to sell them and, basically push them to take action? With higher price stuff, clients, the people that we're selling to, they need to base their decision upon something. They're not just going to drop a huge amount of money without knowing it's right for them. For us to be able to sell it to them, we need to know what's going on with the business. We need to know what's going on with them, what their perspective is, what their goals are, what their problems are, and then base what we're selling as a solution to those problems. So having good questions to ask, being able to draw out the information that you need, see what's important to them, see why they should purchase whatever it is that you're selling. It's hugely important. Without good questions, it's going to be very, very hard to sell higher priced items. So let's get into it right away. I'm going to break this down into different categories. This is based on questions that you should ask either in person when you meet somebody or during a sales call. And it's going to go through the whole process. You don't just go straight into these kind of deep core problem questions. You got to start off, build a little bit of rapport and kind of work your way into the heavier stuff and then work your way back out talking about what they want to see in the future, how you're going to move ahead with the sale. Okay, so this video is going to give you 31 questions. They're going to be in the order that you should ask them in. This is hugely important. You can't go too fast, too quick, because you need to do certain things first. The first sort of question that we're going to cover is rapport. Rapport is definitely where we want to focus first. We want business owners, potential clients to trust us to answer our questions truthfully. If they're not giving us the correct information, if they're not willing to go into enough detail, it's very hard later to sell whatever it is that we're offering because we don't have the correct information. The presumptions that we're making, what we're assuming is going to motivate them to buy, if they don't answer the questions correctly, it's just not going to be true. It's not going to be accurate information. So the first thing we need to do is build some rapport. We don't have to be best buddies with these people. We don't have to have them to love us straight away. What we're trying to do here is have them see us as an expert, as somebody who can help them, as somebody who's willing and is capable of improving their business, improving their sales, or whatever the goal is with their business. So depending on how you got this sales meeting, this is one possible really, really good question to ask. If you got the sales meeting through a referral, so if somebody recommended you, or maybe they found some of your previous work and they contacted you and they're somewhat already aware of who you are as a business, this is a great question to ask. Ask them, how did you hear about us? So the very first thing you're doing in this scenario is you're getting them talking about you. They're talking about, okay, we've seen you did this work for someone else. You've seen you got these people great results. This is how we heard about you. This gives you a chance straight away to start off on a good foot, get them talking right away, which is important as well, but also get them focusing upon why they initially reached out, what their motivation was, and how it's giving you information about how they already perceive you and what they think is important about what you have to offer. So very, very good first question. If it was a warm lead or if it was a referral. If it wasn't, a question that we should be asking is, may I ask you some questions about your business? So if they're not already aware of what we do, if they're not already aware that we've helped other businesses, we should be asking them permission to ask them some questions about their business. We need them to open up. We need them to realize that for us to help them, to see if we're a potential good match together, that we're going to require a little bit of information from their side. So straight away, and I'll do a full video on kind of the first few seconds on a phone call, building rapport, but the first sort of questions that we should be asking is just asking them, can we ask questions? I know that seems a little maybe confusing or whatever, but in the beginning, we need to set up this frame, set up this base that for this to go any further, for us to see if it is worthwhile doing business together, if we can actually help you, that we're going to have to ask you some questions. So a good first question to ask is, can I ask you some questions? Once they agree to that, once they're, realizing why they should move forwards with this, the very next question, a good general question is, can you give me a very quick overview of what you do and what is going on at the moment in your business? So before we dive into problems, before we dive into kind of the in detail stuff, we just need the overview context. We need to know what the situation is with this business, what it is that they do, what's going on at the moment, what have they been up to, what's the general overview of everything. This just gives us the whole kind of map, and then we can start zooming in on different problems. We can start going into more detail. but we don't want to go in too fast and not know the general overview. So you're not going to get hugely valuable information for selling on this, but it's crucial for asking the right questions later that will provide you that value, that will provide you that information. So in the beginning, always start off with general overview questions. Get a feel for everything that's going on before you dive in deeper. All right, so the next stage after rapport is investigation. We want to start knowing a little bit more in depth about what's going on with the business. What problems do they have? How are things done in this business? How do they go about getting sales? How do they go about getting new customers? What's currently working? What's currently not working? So we're going to start investigating what's going on. We want good questions that gets them opening up, talking more about their business, giving us possible things that we can focus on more that could lead to a sale. So a very good first question here is, what's your goals for this year? So ask a business, what are they trying to do in the future? What's the plan here? What are they trying to do moving forwards? It's showing you what might motivate them at a later stage to take action. So if their goal for the year is to get more clients, now you can start thinking, hey, a website might be able to help them with this. I wonder what their problem is with not getting enough clients at the moment. So what's your goal for this year? Gets them start talking about the things that motivate them, the things that matter to this business. Next question is, what kind of challenges are you facing at the moment? So these are the things, nice follow-up question, that might be stopping them from getting to that goal. What's stopping them from getting extra clients, more revenue, bigger projects, more of the exact sort of clients that they want, more growth, whatever it is. So whatever goals they mentioned, now you can lead into, okay, what kind of challenges are you facing at the moment getting to that goal? Are you focused? And then again, depending on whatever challenges, you can ask them, are you focused more upon growing the business? Is it about saving time and effort? Or is it about something else? What's their motivating thing that might help them to take action? Do they want more sales? Is that what's motivating them? Is it more about just cutting down on expenses? Is it more about just less effort for each new customer, less time trying to get new projects? You're figuring out the underlying needs, the underlying problems, what their core motivation might be for moving ahead, taking action. And this is a great question to ask at the moment. How are sales? You could ask this question a bunch of different ways. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. Ask them about their sales process. And more questions are going to cover this, but how are sales at the moment? How much are sales worth to them? Where are their sales coming from? How does a typical sale get closed? What's their typical sale process from initial point of contact to when they close the sale? Really get a good feel through however amount of questions that you can ask about their sales process. That's crucial to selling website services, is knowing what sales are worth to them, how many sales they get, where they come from, how they close them. What do you think are your advantages over your competitors? So this is a nice question to ask. People like to talk about how their own business does well, why, people are proud in their own business. So asking them, okay, what's your advantage over competitors? Why do you think people choose you? Why do you think you're the best at what you do? These are all the things that they could be listing on their website, that their website could be helping them to promote, that you could potentially be adding into your future web design. It also shows you things that they might not be highlighting, things that they might be neglecting to tell their customers. This is something to definitely keep track of, especially for copywriting later. If you do get this website project, these are the things that you really got to know to build a website that gets huge results. All right, next question. Why do you think someone might choose to do business with someone else over you? Very, very good question for seeing where these people are within their industry, where they are within their niche, what sort of competition they're facing, and how that competition is competing against them. This gives you a lot of solid information that you can kind of then present back to them and show them why a new website could help them a lot. It could help cover, whatever topics they bring up. Maybe people are competing against them on price. Maybe people are just more visible. Maybe other competitors have a much better sales system or reputation or portfolio or experience, whatever. So these are the things you got to keep track of, take down notes, and then towards the end of the sales call, these are the things you're going to feed back to them, show them why it makes sense to go ahead and invest in a new website. Another question, how do you see your business growing over the next year? So not what do they want to achieve, but how do they think they're going to get to that point? This is getting them to think more about, okay, how do I actually go out there and make this happen? Great question for seeing, do they have a plan? What is their plan? How concrete is that plan? Does it make sense? And showing you if a website could be part of that. Is that something that you can kind of jump on in their current plan? Or should you be maybe giving them a different plan that involves a website, showing them again how much your website could help with this particular plan and the sort of solutions that you could build that tie into what they're trying to achieve. Again, this is more about sales. How do you get your clients? And then can you break down the different ways you might find customers and close the sale? Just covered this a few seconds ago, but any sort of question that focuses on the sales process is always really valuable information. This is the lifeline of their business. This is what matters the most. How they get clients, how they close clients, how they make their money. You really got to understand this stuff if you're going to be selling a website that is based upon you increasing sales, increasing the amount of customers that they have. At what stage do you think you might be losing sales? What do you think is the weakest part of your sales process right now? Again, flipping that question around, asking them, okay, where are you not doing so good right now? Where do you think you're losing sales? Where are you losing money? This is going to show you your potential, again, with a website to help these people to build value, to bring in more revenue, more results, bigger clients, better clients, whatever it is that their goals are. So very good question for just getting more and more information. This is what we need, so later we can sell them the solution to fix all these problems. What is it that you'd like to see accomplished this year? So pretty standard question, tying back into what we already talked about, getting them to picture where they want to be in the future. What is it exactly that they want to see? And this is giving us information on, again, how we can add value, how we can help them achieve this goal. Is there anything you think you could be doing to be getting more sales or better clients? Great question for getting their own input on what they think they're not doing great and what they think they could be doing better. It's much more persuasive to have people tell you information than for you to try and convince them that this is what the case is. For example, if I was trying to tell someone, hey, I think you could have a better portfolio and that's really going to help sales, that's nowhere near as persuasive if somebody tells me, people just don't really know how good we are. They haven't seen our past work. Now, when I say later, okay, I really think you should get that portfolio because, as you said, people just don't know how good your work is, they're going to completely agree with that statement because they met it themselves. So much better to get people to tell you what they think their own shortcomings are, their own potential for improving, than it is for you to try and present that information. They're always going to know more about their own business than you ever are. So it's much better to get it straight from the source than trying to guess yourself. Cool, so core problems. So for each of these questions above that we just ran through, these are like the surface level to kind of get them opening up, talking about those problems. But what we want to do when we see certain things that are beneficial for us trying to sell our services, for example, that example I just gave about the portfolio, we would want to dive deeper straight away and get more information about that. What does that really mean to them? What's the impact there? What other areas of business is that affecting? What does that mean for them? Is that, bringing down revenue? Is that impacting not getting enough clients? Is that taking up a lot of time? Is it causing stress? We want to get into that core problem. We really want to understand what's going on. Not just the overview stuff. That's great. That's where you got to start. But as you start hearing about these problems, about these pain points, about things that they're hoping to improve, you need to go deeper and find out what's really going on there, the extent of the damage, and how much potential value you could be adding there. So these questions are add-on questions to the questions above. First, get the general overview of the problems, then you dive deeper. So for example, can you help me understand that a little bit better? So they mentioned something about a problem. They mentioned, okay, at the moment, we're just not doing too good with sales. We're having some issues on the phone. You don't want to let them say something like that and not dig deeper. You want to find out, okay, what's the issues on the phone? What's going on there? Can you help me understand that a little bit better? You want to really get in there and see what's going on. What exactly does that mean? Again, just getting more details, diving in, finding out exactly the core issues here. What does that mean for their business? Why do you think that is? So maybe we find out the core issues, but we want to get their input on why they think that's happening. Why do they think that they're having this issue? Where do they think it's coming from? What could be the whatever that's causing this to happen? Again, another great question, because this is all stuff that we're going to use to sell our solution, to sell our value as a web designer. How do you think that is affecting your business? Again, we want to see the extent. Maybe it's not just the fact that they're losing money. Maybe it's the fact that it's causing them a lot of stress. Maybe it's the fact that they might have to let some really good staff go that have been there for years because they just can't get this problem fixed. Maybe it's something that burns up 1 hour every day, and that's just time they don't have to lose. They need that time for other business goals. So with any problem, there's always the obvious big problem, but there's all these other little things that link to that as well. So if I was a dentist and I'm trying to sell getting, braces, somebody comes in and they say, hey, my teeth aren't straight. That's the initial problem. That's the obvious problem. But the other things that might link to that might be their confidence. They might not feel good about the fact that their teeth aren't straight. Maybe their relationships are suffering. Maybe they're trying to get some particular partner and they just don't feel like they could go comfortably talk to that person with crooked teeth. Maybe their job, maybe they work in sales or they work in some kind of front desk position and they just don't feel as comfortable representing a business when their teeth are not as straight as, other people, whatever. But the initial problem is going to be the obvious one, but you're going to have all these other things that link into that as well. So questions like this, how is that affecting your business? You want to find out not just what the problem is. Oh, we're not making enough sales. How is that affecting your business? Oh, because we're not making enough sales, we're going to have to let these people go. We're going to have to downsize. We're going to have to cut back on this. We can't reinvest in whatever. We had to cut back on this new product. We had to shut down a location. These are all the different things, the whole extent of the problem. Great questions to ask. First, of course, you got to start with the context. Then you got to work a little bit deeper. And then you got to see, okay, what's going on at that level, all the other things that are linked to this as well. What is stopping that happening at the moment? So this is a good question to ask. If you talk about where they want to be. So let's say, okay, what we're trying to do this year is get to X amount of sales. You could then ask, okay, why do you think that's not happening? What do you think is stopping that happening at the moment? Now they're going to talk about problems that they know in their own business. Okay, we're having a problem with this. This is an issue. We know this isn't working well. This is definitely holding us back. Again, these are all things you should be listing down, keeping track of, because when it comes time to pitching your services, pitching what you have to offer, it's going to be based upon this stuff. This is the core motivators. These are the things that people are willing to invest huge amounts of money to get fixed. This is what they care about, not the superficial, flashy stuff. This is the core motivator for getting people to invest a lot of money in the solution that you offer. So now we're nicely transitioning into where they want to be. And some of those last questions we're already starting to get to that place. But after we find out the problems, after we get more in depth with those problems, find out how bad they are and how badly they're impacting their business, all the different things that's going on there, we now want to start switching it up, talking about where they want to get to. So we know what's holding them back. We know what's causing them pain, causing them stress, causing them a lot of issues. But we don't know, where do they want to go? What do they actually want to achieve? What's the goal here? If they could remove all these problems, what would that look like? If we could get them somewhere else, where would they want to be? So that's the purpose of these questions. All right, so first one, what would you prefer to see instead? Obviously, this transitions from a problem question. Once you have them talking about problems, how it's not working, all the issues there. Okay, what would you prefer to see instead? This gets them thinking more positively. It gets them thinking about what might motivate them to move forwards. Well, where do they want to be as a business? What would they like to be doing? What could you possibly help them achieve? Great question to moving their train of thought, getting them from kind of the negative stuff they're focused on earlier to thinking more positive, thinking more proactive, moving towards kind of future projection, which is exactly what we want to do at this stage. What would the goal be if you were to change that? So if something's not working, you're talking about possibly fixing it. You want to know what the end goal is there, not just also how you would fix it, but why you would fix it. What are they trying to achieve? Again, what's going to motivate them to move forwards, to invest in something that could get them to that point? What are they trying to do? What is the end goal here? What are you trying to achieve with this? Exact same question, just phrased differently. What do you think could be done better? So once more, instead of telling people, hey, this is what you should do, this is my input, even though I've only known your business for half an hour, it's much more better, it's much more persuasive, it's much more accurate to get people to tell us what they think they should be doing better. You know, maybe we're still going to give our input, but it's always better to first ask for their input as to what they think is going on. Even though they might not know website stuff as good as you, they know their own business 100 times more than you ever are going to know it. So you got to get this information from them before you can show them how you would do it your own way and kind of your take on that. This is a great question. What is the focus here? And I have these two blank. But when you uncover a problem and you kind of have a feel for what their motivators might be, but you're not sure kind of the order of their motivators, you can ask them, what's the focus here? Is it making more money or is it saving costs? Is the focus more sales or is it just saving time? Do you want to bring in bigger, better projects, or do you just want to get a bunch of new clients and you kind of just don't even care what services they want? So you can get a feel. By now you should know somewhat different motivators, what might move them forwards to take action, but now you want to start putting it in priority. What's their big number one thing? What's the second thing after that? What's kind of the third, fourth, fifth thing that might motivate them? You need to know the priority of what might motivate them to move forwards. So you can focus later, again, obviously, on the biggest stuff, on the thing that matters most to them. If this is working perfectly, what would it mean for your business? A great future projection question, getting them to picture the perfect business. If it was all working, what would that mean for them? You know, how great that would be. This is exactly what we're going to sell them as a solution. This is the end result that we're going to promise through whatever it is that we're going to offer them. All right, so moving forwards, this is going to be the end of our phone call. This is going to be when we stop asking so many questions and we start wrapping this thing up into a sale. At this point in the sales process, I would start going back over everything, all the problems that they have, how these are impacting their business, what that means for them, but then also showing them, hey, look, you know, this is where you're trying to go. This is what you know your problems are. This is how we could fix those problems and what we should do to get you to this place where you want to go. That's kind of a wrap up. I'll cover that in another video. We want to keep this one about questions. Some of the questions though at this stage would be things like, so this recap, did I miss anything? Or do you have any questions of your own? So you would go back over all the things. So, okay, Mr. Business Owner, you told me you're having a problem with sales. You think this problem is coming from, you know, X, Y, Z. This problem with sales is causing your business to have issues with and this is impacting also all these other things. You talked about, you know, improving your sales, how that means that you'll be able to expand your business, you'll be able to reinvest in creating better products. Did I miss anything, or do you have any questions of your own? Good follow-up question. We don't want to presume that we asked all the questions. We don't want to presume that we know everything. Give them a chance to let us know if we missed anything or if they have any concerns or questions at this point. We don't want to try to close something, move it towards a sale, and they still have issues, they still have concerns, they still have something that, you know, they wished we had talked about on the phone or in person. So give them a chance to ask any questions, any concerns they might have. So recapping the value. So you mentioned that you get 10 new clients on average per month. Each of these clients are worth 10,000 each. So potentially in sales, 100,000 a month. But we also talked about how you think a website could potentially add a lot of value, maybe increase those sales by 20% coming from the website. So does that sound about right, that you think, you know, there's potential there for an extra 20,000 a month? Obviously, those figures I just completely made up right now. That recap would be in a lot more detail. but you're recapping the value, how much they're potentially losing at the moment, how much they could be potentially gaining by having a better website, a better sales system, and then just reaffirming. Does that sound right to you? Does that sound like a reasonable assumption? Does that sound accurate? If it's not accurate, if they don't think it is, go back over why they don't think that's the case. If it is accurate, perfect. They've confirmed that there's a lot of value to be had in investing in a new website. Okay, what is your budget for something like this? So when it gets to price, and I will do also another video on pricing, that's a complicated subject matter. There's a lot of different ways to bring that up. If you're really stuck for just, you have no idea how much to charge these people, you have no idea what sort of money they want to spend, this is a good introductory question to talking about prices. What is the budget you have for something like this? They might give a specific number. That number could be accurate, it could be low, it could be high, but you're just starting to get a feel for where they are at with their money, what they think that this could be worth to them. They could also say something like, we have no idea. I mean, we've never, done a website before. Or we haven't done the website in 20 years. We just have no idea what this costs. That's fine as well. If they don't have a figure, that's okay. You're just starting to broach the subject, starting to getting them open to discussing the price. I know a lot of people have issues with this, with bringing up price, starting to talk about money. Again, I'll cover this in huge detail in another video in the future, but this is a very good first question to bringing up the topic, seeing where they're at, seeing how they feel about spending money, and if they do want to spend money, how much, kind of what figure they had in their mind. You can still move the price up from here. It doesn't matter so much what initial price they say. There's ways of increasing that, of seeing what's right for them. And I'll cover that in the pricing video. It's not just always a case of trying to get more and more. There's going to be a certain point that's right for a client. It's right for you to charge them, and it's right for them to pay that. And they're going to get the most return on investment possible. And you're also going to make a nice chunk of change for yourself as well. So next question here. Is there anyone else that you need to talk to first about this? Crucial question. A lot of businesses, it's not just one person. It's going to be, there's going to be a wife, there's going to be a husband, there's going to be a boyfriend, girlfriend, business partners, maybe even like a mother, father, a cousin, whatever. You need to know, look, if you're dealing with someone, is this person the only person who's going to make this decision? Or are they going to have to go talk to other people? Depending on the information you get, there's a lot of different things you can do with this. If they have a business partner, why don't you suggest that you have another phone call with the business partner, the three of you go back over all the key points. Depends on what they answer, but you need to know that context. You don't want to be presuming that somebody is the only person you're dealing with, when in fact you're dealing with two people, or you're dealing with three people, or even more. So good to know this. It's good to know this before you start trying to close the sale fully. Do you have any concerns about changing this? So another excellent question. Towards the end of the sale, you're talking about possibly changing the website. Find out, do they have any sort of concerns? Do they have any sort of fears about changing the website? What might stop them from taking action? It could be completely separate to anything you've discussed. Maybe they have this huge fear about the email system going down for 2 days. Maybe they're concerned about losing their number one spot on Google. Maybe they're concerned that they won't be able to update certain information themselves, or that they might need to switch a picture in the future. And are you going to do that for free? Or how much is that going to cost? How long will that take? People with websites, they got a lot of different assumptions with how websites work, how content's changed, how it's charged over time. So you need to address these fears, address these concerns, make sure that they feel good about moving ahead, make sure that there's nothing on their mind that might stop them from taking action with you other than the obvious stuff. All right, so that is it. 31 questions in the rough order you should be asking them. Hope that makes a lot of sense. Have any questions, leave them below in the comments. If you like this sort of sales content, definitely subscribe. A few things that I covered but didn't cover in huge detail would be that initial stage of the call, building rapport, opening them up, getting them to allow you to ask questions. I'll cover that in another video. Also pricing, talking about price. I know that topic came up and we didn't get time to cover it in huge detail, so I'll cover that in the future. But any questions on this, any questions on web stuff in general, on sales, leave a comment below and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.